Hello, audience. You're listening to Joe Radio, and this is The Grind. And today, we're going to grind for experience and money in Final Fantasy. And since that's really boring, we're actually going to talk about games. Let's see. No healing items. Now, while playing in The Grind, the only items we're going to buy are healing items. We're going to save all the equipping the characters and upgrading the characters for the real show. Today, we're just going to fight stuff. Aw, yeah. These ogres and creeps, we're going to fight them. That's not all we're going to do. We're going to also have stimulating conversation. Aw, yeah. Okay, I can't keep that voice up forever. So we're going to talk a little bit about gaming. But precisely, what is a game? Some people, may not be so sure, and what I say here is primarily my opinions. But I think there are really two things that make something into a game as opposed to something that's game-like, something where you're just playing. And that's primarily a system of rules and a goal. That's it. Those are the two things you need. Pretty much anything you do that has rules and a goal could theoretically be a game, depending on how you take it. So Ogre. These guys are tough to kill. Early on, we're going to have some difficulties, I think. We kind of pushed our way pretty far ahead of the curve at this point in Final Fantasy, and that's why we're here. Hopefully we can kill these guys. They are quite annoying. Early on, we might have to buy a lot of healing potions, but our goal is to save up money, so we don't want to spend too much time on that. Come on, don't kill my guys. These ogres have 100 hit points. They're difficult to kill. Oh, now we're wasting our hits. Oh well. There we go. Ugh. Joel is not doing so well. Let's have everyone attack the bottom creep, because I already injured him. Except for you. Heal him. There we go. As long as he doesn't get killed in the next couple rounds, we should be okay. Why you guys gotta be missing? Alright, so a game is something with rules and a goal. I think that's really the primary thing, the goal itself. The rules, not so much. Some games have very loose rules. It's really the goal that sets it apart. It's really the goal that allows you to determine whether or not somebody wins and somebody loses, because that's the whole thing about a game, is there's a way to win and there's a way to lose. If there's no goal, there's no winning and no losing, and it's not really a game. And I think that some software kind of looks like a game. It's even called a game. They advertise it as such, but it's not really a game because there is no real built-in goal to the game that's listed. Something that gets you the credits and, hey, you won, that kind of thing. And that doesn't make those games any less fun or any less games to some people, because you can kind of make it a game yourself. By setting your own goals, you're able to take that game, that game-like piece of software, and make it into an actual game. Let's see, how much does it cost to go to the inn? It costs 100 gold to go to the inn. It's expensive. I'd rather do that than continually use healing potions. Alright, let's get a few more healing potions, get back out there. Hopefully we'll get tough enough soon that we won't even have to worry about healing potions, and we'll just go out there and kick some butt. And, hit the inn every now and then. But for now, we might still need a good amount of healing potions and antidotes, because there are some poisonous snakes out there. Let's get one more antidote. And a few more healing potions. There we go. Well, one more healing potion. Huzzah! We survived the battle, and we leveled up. We're all level 4, except for the Black Belt. He's not doing so good. So, I think the best example of software that looks like a game, that is not quite so necessarily a game, would be MMOs. MMOs look a lot like games. They're even called games. But most MMOs, there's no way to win. There's no end to MMOs. And because of that, they're not technically games. They're very similar to games, very similar to console RPGs and computer RPGs. But without a clear goal in mind, they're more like a gameplay experience. You're playing, but you're not actually ever going to win. And because of that, it doesn't qualify entirely as a game, but that doesn't make it a bad thing. Because when you, the player, say, I want to do this, I want to do that, you've changed it from being playing to being a game. For example, in sandbox games, there's usually never any kind of goal in a true sandbox game, just like in a real sandbox on a playground. And when you're just playing on a sandbox in a playground, you're just playing. You're, building piles of sand, you're making sandcastles. But when you say, I'm going to do this, and this is the rules, I'm going to build a sandcastle in 5 minutes, I'm going to build a sandcastle in 10 minutes, whatever, you've changed it from playing in the sand to playing a game in the sand. And that qualifies for software as well. It doesn't necessarily have to be gameplay-type software. You can take something like Microsoft Paint and make a game out of it. You can say, I'm going to draw something in Microsoft Paint in 20 minutes or less, and I'm going to use every one of the tools available and use each color once. Something like that. Or I'm going to draw something in Microsoft Paint, but I'm only going to use one color. And doing that makes it into a game, even though that's not necessarily a game or even made to be like a game in the first place. Even though these things that are called games aren't always games, they're still fun. You can have a lot of fun playing, bring your friends along, kill some monsters. It's pretty cool. And when you come up with goals for yourself, it pretty much becomes a game at that point. In a game like World of Warcraft or City of Heroes, MMOs, your goal could be, I want to get the next piece of loot. And that's my game. I want to play till I get the next piece of loot. Or I want to play till I level up. I want to get through the next raid without dying. And if you manage to complete your goal, you win, and if you don't, you lose. And you can still keep playing. And in that way, these play experiences grow to be like games, but you become a part of the experience because you're the one setting the goals. Kind of takes the role of the goal maker out of the hands of the designer of the game and into the hands of the player. It gives the player a certain kind of freedom, but that also kind of scares players away because they realize that they have to come up with something to do. For example, in Minecraft, you have to decide what you're going to do in Minecraft. There is no level plan or way you have to go about doing things. Admittedly, Minecraft now has an ending, but it's not the main focus of the game. There's no story that leads you to the ending. And I think it still qualifies as more of a gameplay experience. But because you come up with goals constantly in Minecraft while you're playing, it works out. You say, I want to build a castle, or I want to build a pyramid, or I want to make a pirate boat. And that becomes your game. Your game is to make that thing. Generally, the rule would be as quickly as possible. Or maybe no rules. Maybe that's just the game. I want to make a boat. And once you've added that goal, achieving that goal means you win. And the challenges along the way that they've inserted would be the monsters. So even if you don't come up with any rules yourself, as long as you're playing in survival mode, still say, I'm going to make a pirate boat and not get blown up by creepers along the way. That works out pretty good as a goal, even if you don't come up with anything else yourself. Let's see here. So, when you're playing a game alone, are you just playing with yourself? Are you just, sitting in a darkened room, staring at a screen, pushing buttons, and not interacting with the greater world at large? I would say no. Because even when you're playing a game that was made 20, 30 years ago like this one, and you're in no way interacting with other people in your surroundings, you're still interacting in a removed fashion with the team that made the game. The guys that made the towns, the guys that drew the graphics, the guys that set up how the fights are going to unfold. You're basically playing against their idea of how the game should be played. You're trying to either go with it or go against it. You're basically interacting with these 10 or so Japanese men from 10, 15, 20 years ago, and their idea of what a fun game would be. If you think the same way they do, that the kind of game that they made is the kind of game that'd be fun, then you're probably going to have a good time playing Final Fantasy or any of the other games made by Square around that time. I think primarily your interaction would be with the programmer of the game, and the other guys that, kind of came up with stuff along the way as well. It's kind of the same way as when you're listening to music. you're interacting with the musician in a removed fashion, but I think it's more direct, because it's not a passive action playing games. Games require input on your side. It's not a movie or a show or a song where you're just paying attention or not paying attention, and that's pretty much the only interaction you have. The level of interaction a game brings means that I'm going up against ideas and thoughts that someone had years and years ago, even though I'm just playing in a room by myself. Let's see here. Everyone's doing pretty good. Let's get in a few more fights. And I think that's a neat thing. People joke that gamers just sit in darkened rooms and play by themselves, but for the last few years, that really hasn't been the case. What with interconnectivity and being able to play with headsets or advent of better multiplayer games. There were some good multiplayer games in the olden days, but not many. And their idea of multiplayer was 2 players, up until very recently. Nowadays, I think that multiplayer gaming has really hit a stride with MMO games and console games where you can play up to 16, 20, hundreds of people at a time. And even still, there are one-player games that you can pick up and play against the people that made the game 1 year ago, 5 years ago, 20, 30 years ago. You're still going up against that design team's idea of how the game should be played and what makes a winner and a loser in that game. And I think that games are fun. Games are, I think, one of the best things there is to do in the world. There's just a great strength to having rules and structure and a goal. It's a great parallel to life. Movies aren't a good parallel to life because you don't just sit back and watch life. And songs aren't a good parallel either. You don't sit back and listen throughout your entire life. They're passive experiences that replicate a certain portion of life, but they're missing the crucial element of interaction that games bring. Unfortunately, games haven't really reached the era where they have reached a level of complexity that music and video have. They're getting there, and I think that the story element is the main missing part of modern gaming. They look good, they sound good. It's not photorealistic yet, but they're getting there. And I think in a few more years, we're going to see story really take the main stage. And I think that, considering the way Hollywood's been lately, where they've been kind of dialing back the importance of story in their product, and really highlighting special effects and just getting the good actor to say the cool lines, I think that maybe video games might become the storytelling medium, the primary one of the future. And that makes sense because it's like an advanced version of video. It's the next level of evolution, I think. I think we had books, which were passive, you read them. And then we had radio, so you could hear a book. And you had video, so you could hear and see a book. And now we've pretty much reached the next level of storytelling where you can be interactively involved with the story. You are in the book, you are in the song, you are in the video. And I think that is really why gaming has become such a big deal. It's become its level of verisimilitude with the audience, its ability to convey a story, becomes so much stronger when you can control directly the actions of the characters. Amazing how it can connect you with what's going on in the game world. Wow, these are regular wolves. I should have split my attacks. So we've done some pretty good grinding here. I think we've gone up one level, fought some fights, talked about game design. What are your ideas? What are your thoughts on what makes a good game and what doesn't make a good game? What qualifies something to be a game and one thing not? Do you agree with me that goals and rules are really required? Or do you think that MMOs stand on their own as games even though they have no preset goal? No actual end game where you say, I won World of Warcraft or I won Final Fantasy XI. I'm interested in your opinions on this. Maybe I'm wrong-minded about this. I know it's kind of the basic view of what qualifies as a game. It's kind of straightforward. But I think it fits. There aren't that many things that you can do to identify a game. A game can be a lot of things. It can be played a lot of ways. Video games are just one way of playing games. So let me know. Say in the comments, hey, I disagree with you, Joel. That I think that games can be this and games can be that. And I'm interested to hear. I enjoy sharing my opinions with you, and I think that's about all the grinding we'll have time for right now. I think we've covered our topic pretty well. So with that, I'll say, we've worn this episode down to a fine point. dial in to Joel Radio again soon for the next installment of Joel Grind.